"The Mechanicum outpost on Hydra 6, Zavis said suddenly. "They were unusually interested in our expedition. Perhaps they've had access to similar records." Marcus nodded, his unhelmed face showing the excitement of scholarly discovery. "That's not all, Captain. Look at these stellar calculations, the anomalies they recorded. They're moving, slowly, over centuries, but in a distinct pattern. If these measurements are accurate, we might be able to predict where—" A port announcement interrupted them, the Voxcasters crackling with routine traffic updates. But both warriors had glimpsed something significant, pieces of a puzzle that had been hidden for centuries, now slowly coming to light. "Well done, brother," Captain Zavis said, his helm's Vox carrying a note of approval as he slapped Marcus's Mark VI breastplate with a ceramite-clad hand. "Take your findings to our priests and go enjoy your leave." Marcus nodded, the stacked books held securely in his arms, the beaked helm still swaying at his waist. "Thank you, Captain." He straightened with pride at the commendation, his retrofitted armor's servos whirring with the motion. "Though I might stop by the archives one more time before—" "The archives will still be here tomorrow," Zavis interrupted, his helm tilting slightly in amusement. "Even scholars need rest, brother. That's an order." As Marcus turned to leave, balancing his precious cargo of ancient tomes, Zavis watched him go, the whispers in his mind seeming to fade slightly. Here was proof that their mission was more than just shared visions. There was solid evidence to be found if they knew where to look. Around them, the port continued its eternal cycle of commerce and activity, unknowing of the mysteries that might await in the Nephilim sector. The possibility of recovering lost ships and technology added yet another layer to their already complex mission. The captain turned his helm skyward, where somewhere above the port's massive structure, the Sword of Dawn waited in its berth. 3 days of leave still stretched before them, but already the pieces were falling into place. Chapter 10. Throughout Port 227, the crews of the Salamander's fleet found their own ways to make use of their precious shore leave. In the spa districts, veteran crew members soaked in mineral baths, their void-weary muscles finally relaxing in the heated waters. Ship officers and serfs alike took advantage of the therapeutic treatments, though many jumped at unexpected noises, a habit hard to break after months in the void. The market squares buzzed with activity as crew members wandered between stalls. Tech priests hunched over bins of spare parts, their mechadendrites sorting through components while muttering prayers of evaluation. Barge mothers continued their methodical supply runs, their experienced eyes ensuring only the best would make it aboard their vessels. In the maintenance bays, off-duty engineers tinkered with personal projects, finally having access to proper tools and parts. The air filled with the smell of sacred oils and the sound of careful calibration rites. Even during leave, many couldn't resist the urge to improve and repair. The chapel remained busy as brothers rotated through their cleansing rites. Some spent hours in meditation, while others offered prayers of thanks for their safe arrival. Chaplains moved among them, providing guidance and blessing to any who sought it. Throughout it all, an undercurrent of purpose remained. Despite the leisure activity, none forgot the mystery that awaited them after these 3 days. The whispers might have quieted on solid ground, but they hadn't disappeared entirely. In various taverns and feast halls, crew members shared stories and speculations about their upcoming mission, their voices dropping whenever they discussed the shared visions that had brought them here. Even in recreation, the weight of duty was never far from their minds. Captain Zavis paused in his stride as a small port resident, a young girl, approached him fearlessly. Around them, crew members streamed back toward their ships, their shore leave coming to an end. Clutched in her tiny hands was a piece of paper with a crude but colorful drawing. The captain rendered in bright colors, surrounded by cheerful flowers and fluffy clouds. "For your lordship," she said simply, extending the drawing up toward his towering form. After a moment's hesitation, Zavis reached down with his armored hand, carefully taking the offered artwork as if handling the most delicate archaeotech. His helm tilted slightly as he studied her gift, his augmetic eye whirring as it focused on the child's artistic interpretation of his form. "The Emperor blesses us through the joy of children," he said finally, his Vox-modified voice gentler than usual. "Thank you, little one. May he watch over you." The girl beamed up at him before darting back into the crowd, disappearing among the port's residents who had gathered to watch the Space Marine's departure. Zavis carefully tucked the drawing into a compartment in his armor. Even with all the mysteries and whispers that plagued them, even with the weight of command and the unknown dangers that awaited in the Nephilim sector, moments like these served as reminders of why they fought. For humanity in all its forms, from the mightiest warrior to the smallest child. The steady stream of returning crew members continued around him as he resumed his walk toward the ships, though now his steps seemed somehow lighter. Captain Zavis approached the gathering, where Chapter Master Vollux's massive emerald-armored form towered over the planetary guardsmen. The Commissar's peaked cap and distinctive long coat marked him clearly among his men, though even he seemed diminutive next to Vollux's imposing presence. The Chapter Master's bull-headed helm with its impressive horns was mag-locked to his hip, his ebony features and the 3 golden implants in his forehead catching the cargo bay's harsh lighting. The right power fist with its integrated flamer seemed to gleam as Vollux gestured during his conversation. The guardsmen maintained proper military bearing, though their rigid postures betrayed their awe at being in the presence of not one, but soon to be 2, Astartes. Zavis's footsteps echoed on the cargo ramp as he approached, his helm's autosenses picking up fragments of conversation about patrol routes and void disturbances. The Commissar was speaking with the clipped tones of an experienced officer, while Vollux's volcanic voice carried its usual commanding resonance. The whispers that had quieted during their planetfall seemed to stir again as Zavis neared the ship, as if the mysteries of the Nephilim sector were eager to reclaim their attention now that shore leave was ending. Captain Zavis approached the gathering, standing at attention beside his chapter master. Vollux's emerald power armor caught the cargo bay's light, his ebony features and triple golden implants reflecting his years of service. His bull-headed helm hung at his side, its horns casting long shadows. "Captain Zavis," his volcanic voice resonated through the bay. "This is Commissar Valdaus. He has knowledge of rogue traders, and I have invited him to join us. I want you to brief him and his men on our situation. They have been generously granted to us for this mission." The Commissar stood rigid before the 2 Astartes, his peaked cap and long coat immaculate, a symbol of imperial authority even in the presence of Space Marines. His guardsmen maintained perfect formation behind him, though their eyes betrayed their awe at being chosen for an Astartes mission. Zavis's helm turned slightly toward Vollux, noting how the chapter master's right power fist, with its integrated flamer, rested casually at his side, a subtle reminder of their chapter's might even in this diplomatic moment. "The briefing facilities are this way, Commissar," Zavis's Vox crackled. "Though I should warn you, what we're investigating may challenge your understanding of Imperial space." He gestured toward the ship's interior, preparing to share the mysteries that had brought them to this point. The whispers in his mind seemed to intensify, as if approving the addition of these new allies to their quest.